seen all of his loved ones like fall apart, disappear, disintegrate, get flooded, drowned, and all of that jazz, and be
Hmm.
confined to this boat for almost for basically a year, right? And then to finally be like, okay, we finally hit dry land and having to like, get out of the land and having to get out of the boat and start fresh, right?
Hmm.
So I almost like we went through a traumatic experience, but I almost feel as if like when we talk about the story of like Noah and the ark, we only see the cutesy end of like
Yeah.
the animals going two by two and so forth, but we don't think about like the emotional struggle that he probably went through being confined in a space for an entire year. People fell apart during COVID. Can you imagine
Girl.
being confined to a ship for an entire year?
Yes. Wow, that is a beautiful wraparound. Okay. Okay, because if I can trust you through an accident that happened in 3 seconds, done, my car gets whatever, my back hurts. Noah trusted you for an entire year, secluded on a boat.
Mm-hmm.
The whole world was destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
The entire world, and you couldn't even take everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the level of faith. It's so crazy how our real life experiences always wrap back into what the people of the Bible and their stories. It's really lateral to what we all experience, so you can always find some type of um,
Correlation.
motivation or an inspiration to like, oh, that's kind of familiar. Like, remember how we talked about Job so much, and we're like, oh yeah, like when I'm really down and out, I just think of Job, like what he went through, and he still was faithful to God, even though he questioned, he wanted to
Yeah.
give up. So this story of Noah, um, when I think about it the most, I just think of like time, like
Mm-hmm.
how even after they got to a point where you could start to see the mountaintops,
Mm-hmm.
like after like a whole year, and how like when he sent out the dove, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still flooded, still got to wait 40 more days. Like you are trusting God. You're surrounded by water for a year. You're
Mm-hmm.
sending out a dove, nothing. They have to come back. There's nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you go 7 days after, you send another dove,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a little bit of hope right there,
Mm-hmm.
an olive leaf,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then he sends another dove for 7 days, and he doesn't return. So altogether, we're looking at 371 days in an ark.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think Noah felt the first time that the dove didn't come back, or even when he brought back a twig? I wonder if there was like any doubt there along his journey, because it's a whole year and he was so righteous and faithful.
Mm-hmm.
But realistically, in today, I feel like would I experience some kind of doubt the first time I sent out a dove and there's nothing after a year? And then you need some prayer? I don't know.
I think it was interesting, right? Okay, so it basically said like they were on the ship or they were on the boat and everything was going as planned, like the water and everything was rising. He was still floating, still traveling in the water. And then God caused a wind to cease, right? And
Mm-hmm.
to me, that statement made me feel like, okay, God knew that was the time,
Mm.
right?
God's
Like
time.
God's time, because Noah doesn't know. He's just roaming around on the ship. The ship is just roaming around the earth. He probably doesn't have any understanding of how many months, how many years, whatever time span he's been in there for,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so to me, I think God knew exactly what time to cease the wind, given Noah the encouragement to be like, this is a time that you sent out the raven, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because in that moment, it didn't say that, God has spoken to Noah. It really said God spoke to Noah when he first told him to start building the boat. From the
Mm.
time of start building the boat to when the animals started walking onto the boat and to like when the rain started falling and so forth, The next time God spoke to him was after he told him, you can now walk out. And the guy said it was what, 371 days.
Mm-hmm.
That's over a year of not hearing God. I myself, as a spoiled brat as I am, I'm in his ear every single moment like a gnat. I know for a fact I would not be able to last that long without hearing him.
Yeah. Especially in those circumstances. Like the whole world is destroyed. I mean, that the magnitude of that.
Mm-hmm. The entire world is destroyed. What I found also super interesting is that why did he send out a raven first?
Mm-hmm. Um, I wondered that too with the different types of birds he sent.
Yeah.
Because I know, from what I know, I don't know much about this type of birds, but I know
Mm-hmm.
ravens are very intelligent
Mm-hmm.
and they were used like back in those days as like watchers. Like you would send a
Mm-hmm.
raven out to send messages. A
Mm-hmm.
raven could come and tell you like there's enemies coming
Mm-hmm.
just by the way that they're caw, caw. So I wonder if it was a raven first because of their keen senses, so they could scope far and wide and really get a good idea if there was any land.
That's
And
probably it.
then doves, I think it would be helpful if I knew what these were, but I know doves are symbolic of like peace, and
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like that dove bringing back the olive branch is like
Mm-hmm.
you can rest at peace now. You're going to get off soon.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that was really cool how there were two different types of birds
yeah,
and what their strong suits are
yeah.
for some, because like you said last time, like God doesn't do anything on accident. He doesn't say anything on accident. So
Mm-hmm.
the birds are symbolic.
Yeah. I found that super interesting. I also found it interesting that the raven never came back.
Mm-mm.
And there was no land, so where did the raven go? At the moment of him sending out the raven, there was no land. The water was still there. I think they noted that they had hit the peak of the mountain. What was the mountain called? Mount.
Ararat.
What is the mountain? Also fountain. So it's also the fountain of the earth deepened the foundation.
Is it
Oh, Mount
Ararat?
Ararat, right? And Mount
Mm-hmm.
Ararat is in Turkey. In Turkey. It's considered the highest point, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if the ship hit that and there was no confirmation that there was clear land, where did that raven continue? Like, did he just continue to circle?
Okay, okay, good question. It says he sent out the raven, which kept going to and fro until the waters dried up from the earth.
Okay,
We never, Noah didn't know that. He
that's
kept
true.
going.
That's
But
very.
it says to and fro until the waters dried up from the earth. First of all, there's something deep in that because why wouldn't you come back to the boat if you're going to and fro until the water dried up? There's no guarantee of survival until you have land.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost shows just how in submission, there's something symbolic there. My gut's telling me like there's something in that raven's trust even with God.
Yeah.
Why
And even
wouldn't you come back like the doves came back?
Yeah, and even the raven having enough energy to go
Like
to
what?
and
To and
fro.
fro. Do you remember in Job when he was like the devil was roaming the earth to and fro?
Hmm.
That's what it made me think of. I don't think there's any connection there, but it made me
Hmm.
think of that.
That
Oh
even
man.
God sustaining the raven to go to and fro, because in every chapter or in every other section of Genesis, it was like, and then 7 additional days and 7 additional days.
Mhm.
So then that
Mhm.
means that the raven was literally going 7 days to and fro, 7 days. That's 1 week, 2 weeks, three. You're almost a
Yeah.
month down the line, and this raven is still circling the earth looking for dry land.
Right. Because it wasn't confirmed
Mm-hmm.
until about what is that, 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
7 days, 7 days. About 2 weeks after is when that last dove didn't come back. Sent the
Yeah.
dove after being out at Mount Ararat for 40 days.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I have no further insight on why that raven did not come back, but there's something in that that by the next time we come back to Genesis, after we get through the Bible again, we'll know.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
why I love the Bible. It's literally the living word. Like where you're
Yes.
at is what you're gonna see.
Yes.
I
I
love that.
also I loved the section where it says, how did the flood stop, right? Because we hear, okay, he's roaming, the birds are checking to see when there's dry land, but really like the the flood didn't stop until God caused it to stop. And he
Mm-hmm.
caused the interior fountain of the earth to stop. And then he caused the exterior, right, the clouds where the rain come from to also cease, allowing the land to dry up and allowing him to then be able to hit land enough for him to feel comfortable to get out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
so to me, I'm like, okay, God cursed the earth as a result of men sinning, and as a result, there was a flood. And then
Mm-hmm.
finally, when all of the earth had died, except for the people and the animals God had on this ship, he then said, okay, I'm going to stop cursing the earth as a result of man, and I'm going to force the earth to retract all of its water from the earth and from the sky, to the point that the earth then rebuilds itself, because he it said the bird got an olive tree, which means that there had been enough time for a plant to grow, for there to
Mm.
be an olive tree.
Right, because if everything got destroyed, how do you survive as a tree underwater unless there's like a study about that trees can survive underwater and still grow without
Hmm.
getting too much water. Wow, you see how deep just these little things are? Like they do seem like fables. Like he brought the olive branch, but there had to have been fruitfulness for him to get the olive branch. He had to have found it. Girl, this that's I didn't even think of that. So, what? After he saw the peak, then he got the branch. He knows, okay, now it's time to get off because there is stuff growing. But the
Hmm.
time that it took for that stuff to grow, it couldn't have been 2 weeks.
I think it
I've
was
never
more.
thought about this.
Mhm. Because he kept saying 7 days. He said 7 days, I think, 4 times. That's a month. So to me, and we're thinking about it in our 7 days, right? We're thinking about it based off of our calendar, not the calendar back then. But he kept saying 7 days. To me, he said it multiple times, which makes me think it was at least over a month, because he said 371 days. That's over a year in total,
Hmm.
plus an additional what, 6 days. So to me, in the Bible, that makes me think that, okay, he at least had enough time for a plant to start. The ground had dried up enough, and it's not even dried up because there's water, right? So the ground had, because of the water, it fertilized the ground enough for an olive plant to then grow, for then the bird to bring in the olive plant to say, hey, here's your sign that you can now come out.
Hmm. That is true. And it shows, oh, look how freaking smart this was. God, you are so detailed.
Hmm.
He took Noah's Ark to the top of Mount Ararat
Hmm.
because you remember how there were like physical effects from the
Hmm.
flood?
Yeah.
So one of them being that there were more masses of water, meaning our
Hmm.
oceans and stuff. But in
Hmm.
order for you to have oceans, you have to have elevation so that the water's not going everywhere. So
Yeah.
he had Noah purposefully land at the top peak of elevation so that
Yeah.
there was enough surface area for them to get out and start a new life.
Yeah.
Because there was pools of now of water called oceans in other areas and rivers and lakes, and if they would have landed there, they would have been in the middle of the ocean. The
Mm.
detailedness of God making him land at the peak of a mountain.
That's very
And
true.
maybe that's how the dove found the twig because he was at higher elevation where
Ooh.
things had started to already dry down.
Ooh, that's a good point. That's an interesting point.
Like,
Ooh.
God is so freaking smart. Like, I'm sorry. If if he wouldn't have also killed everything instantly, we wouldn't have had proof with fossil remains that the
Hmm.
flood even occurred because it happened so drastically. Do you like he knew you guys are going to also doubt me. He knew
Hmm.
that there were going to be scientists that would try to
Hmm.
prove everything he did but not call it him.
Hmm.
So he's like, I want you scientists to figure out how you can get fossil records and records of things instantly dying and becoming fossilized if there wasn't a great flood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I've been to this place called the Badlands in like Wyoming,
Hmm.
and it literally looks like mountain bluffs kind of, but the way they're shaped, it's like coquina. Like it's just this valleys of, I want to call them mountains, they're not mountains, but
Yeah.
you can clearly see, and also it's been stated that it was all underwater. They're
Hmm.
very tall. Like I don't understand when or how that could have gone in drought besides during the Great Flood. It hasn't had water since.
Yeah.
So there's evidence all over.
Yeah. There sure is. I
God is
think
so detailed.
he's so good. I also found it really interesting. So like, okay, the boat travels. He finally gets the sign from the dove that hey,
Mm-hmm.
there is now dry land, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I found so God is so good. What I found so interesting is that he hasn't heard from God this entire trip. There's nowhere in Genesis that says God then said, it's going to be okay, Noah, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
God
Mm-hmm.
then said, it's going to be good, Noah. You're almost there. It's 364 days. You're almost there. It's 370. Like nowhere. He still had enough faith in between the travels to still know that, hey, he's still going to continue on with this mission.
Yep.
And to the point where he didn't hear from God until God told him, you can now open the door.
Right. And that crazy. And yeah, and then oh my gosh. So yeah, we're going through flooding, waiting a year,
Hmm.
waiting over a year or 100 something days to build the ark. No
Hmm.
voice from God. Getting on the ark, a whole extra year. No voice from God. We're almost at 3 some years here. 3 years.
Hmm.
Let's just. I'm not good at math. And then finally, in verse 15, chapter 8, verse 15, he said, Then God spoke to Noah, saying, Go out of the ark,
Hmm.
you and your wife and your sons' wives with you. Bring
Hmm.
out every living thing, every creeping thing. I'm skipping a little bit. And
Hmm.
be fruitful and multiply. Can we talk about, remember when you touched on how God's was basically recreating the commandments to Adam and Eve? I don't know who
Hmm.
said it, but again, he commands, be fruitful and multiply. Now I've started you over again, and I want you to pick up where I left off with Adam and
Hmm.
Eve, except my promises look a little different now, which I thought was very beautiful. It shows God's promises in a new light when they go to verse 20.
Hmm.
But he promises no more curses on you.
Wait. Before you even do that, right?
Where are we
In
at?
in the same verse that you're in, right? Genesis 8, 15 to 17, right?
Uh
What I
huh.
what I found so important about this is that Noah has not heard from God for so long. God gave Noah a mission. It's been over a year. He hasn't heard
Correct.
from God. He's been on this mission. A lot of us would have given up. A lot of us
Yeah.
would have been distracted by the world. A lot of us would have converted back. We would have, God, where are you? You've deceived me, whatever. Like we're emotional creatures. But yet, God, Noah kept on going until God told him the next step. Noah didn't ask, how do I do this, God? Is it left? Is it right? He literally just kept going step after step, regardless if he made the wrong step. He knew that God was going to be with him. He had enough faith to realize that God gave him this purpose, this mission, whatever word you use to call it, that God gave it to him. And even though he didn't hear from God, he didn't give up on God's mission just because he didn't hear from God. He
Hmm.
kept going. And the next step, at the right time, God then told Noah, it's time to open the ark and go out and multiply. A lot of us would have been like, peace out. We would have been like, oh, okay, the job is not, I've been in this job position for 3 years. I'm not getting the raise God gave me. I'm not getting the recognition God gave me, whatever the case is. And I'm just using a job as an example.
Yeah.
But a lot of us would have been like, it's been too long. Even me, I'm like, God, I need to be a millionaire by the end of this year, blah, 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 blah. God, where you at? Where you at? You know what I mean? And it's like he had enough faith to be like, I'm going to continue abiding by God, even though I don't hear him. And when God knew it was the right time, he gave him the next step for his journey. I
Yeah.
thought that was so powerful for us as believers. I don't know. I just was like, oh, Matilda, you need to chill. Like, I'm always like, what about my business? What about my business? What's the next step for my business? And I'm like, okay, if God told me this was my purpose or this is what he has destined for me to do in life, then if he already gave me that creativity, gave me those skills, gave me those visions, then every 5 seconds, I don't need to be like, Dad, are we there yet? Dad, are we there yet? Dad, are we there? God, are we
Yeah.
there? You know what I mean? I just need to believe that He has the map and the way for me. And I don't need to worry about how I'm going to get there, what money I'm going to use to get there, that He will provide the resources and the time for me to get there. So I thought this was just very, I don't know. I was like,
Oh,
you,
that's amazing.
yeah.
Testimony